I had my church and my family who was like, they reaffirmed me that I was a girl, which I'm very thankful for, because at that point, I definitely wanted to go on hormones as soon as I could. One thing that I've heard of that I've not heard any conservative or liberal people saying is that while there's a increase in like transgender women to men that's going on, there's also an increase in women being diagnosed with autism in their teens and 20s. I don't know if you've heard anything about that or about any studies that might relate having gender dysphoria with autism, and maybe if it's a symptom of that nobody's talking about.
I have. I was reading one of these today, actually, that a young gal, I forget her name, was uncomfortable in her body, as all teenagers are. It happened to you as well. Wow, could you tell, before I tell you about some article I read on the internet, what happened?
I was told to keep it brief, but I guess I will tell my story.
Yes. Keep it long, keep it lengthy. I want to hear the story.
As a kid, I liked both girl and boy things as a kid, which that's what a lot of people go through. And then as soon as I hit puberty, it's like I could not deal with the changes in my body. And I didn't really have a word for it yet as transgenderism, but like I would bind my chest in secret. I would make my clothes to wear like it would hide my hips. And, I had my church and my family who was like, they reaffirmed me that I was a girl, which I'm very thankful for, because at that point, I definitely wanted to go on hormones as soon as I could. And if I was still with the influence of the left and the LGBT, like I would have gone on hormones and I would have detransitioned, because it was a symptom of my autism that I got diagnosed with at 20, and it wasn't like actual gender dysphoria.
I've heard a number of stories. I told you I was reading one of these today. Abigail Schreier has written a book called Irreversible Damage, about the regret, about these same sorts of issues that you're talking about, which is good. And the media completely shut it out. You are not allowed to tell that story. The young woman I spoke to just the other day, Helena Kirshner, she is not allowed to tell her story about coming to realize, no, I'm not actually a man, and realize this isn't working. And you were so fortunate. You were so fortunate that your family and your community were sane. You were so fortunate that your family and community were sane and did not indulge this delusion. And the scariest part is that a lot of the families who will indulge this kind of transgender mania that could be caused by any other number of conditions, notably autism, though, you're right, that is cropping up quite a lot. A lot of these families just want to do what's best for their kid, and they're being told by these sickos on television and in the universities and in the political apparatus that the only way to treat your kid is to lop off their genitals and inject them with cross-sex hormones. Absolute irreversible damage that would have caused, frankly, and as you're describing in your case, greater regret than you were, and stress and anxiety than you were experiencing even in the moment. That's incredibly, I'm so glad that you were able to come through that and have a real medical diagnosis in the end that did not result in you mutilating yourself.